How many members have your phone number on speed dial?
A bunch of them.
So what do you do with that? They'll still be calling you for years.
I'll answer it.
There you go.
How about that?
This place here is what gives me the opportunity to go home. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I still live.
Hi, 10-4, I got 9011 on. One shot, consider it hot.
10-4, Mr. Weaver, consider it hot. I got a fuse on fire.
Consider it hot.
10-4.
All right, 10-4, 743, consider it hot.
Well,
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
you guys do it. 10-4.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
Welcome, TVEC members and everybody else in the community. If you happen to find us, to the Consider It Hot podcast for May of 2025. Thanks for joining us. Leigh is sitting right over there.
Hello. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's a good month. The weather has been pretty good and everything else. This podcast for May, we've got lots of stuff for you here. It is another long one, and we appreciate your time, but there's some great stuff in here. We're going to talk to our dispatch superintendent, who is going to talk about storm restoration a little bit. We're going to talk to John Jackson. If you're in the Athens area, you may know John. He's worked for TVEC for 45 years, and he is retiring. He's got some great insight from a career in this line business. And we'll also be talking to Robert Hunter with Kaufman County. He is the Kaufman County Veterans Advocate, and so we got some great info from him about your Operation Roundup grant that went to the memorial out there, and just some veteran service for Veterans Appreciation Month. That is a great interview. So yeah, stick around. I think there's some good stuff in here. I also want to quickly, I went out to see Cindy Riley. Cindy Riley listens. Hello, Cindy. Thank you for listening. And I finally, it took way too long, but I finally got her goodie bag. She was our winner from back in February, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
And she called in, or she emailed us with the proper answer to the question there. And I finally got her goodie bag out to her. Thanks for listening, Cindy. You're so sweet. I hope your roses and all the flowers are blooming out there south of Athens or east of Athens. Beautiful country out there. And yeah, hi, Cindy.
Well, that's exciting. And of course, as we go through here, there could be an opportunity for another member to win.
I think so. More prizes on the way.
That's right. So we've got some blinks this month.
The blinks. What you got?
So Electrical Safety Month is in May, and if any of you are from my time era and NSYNC was an instrumental part of your childhood, then you'll completely appreciate what we've got going on, because all May we're going to be in sync with safety. We are taking a different NSYNC song, and we're putting some safety tips to it. So each week you can check those out, and I hope that because it's going to be May, it's going to be safe.
That is pretty fun what you put together with that. Yeah, check out social media for that. That is very fun and still as catchy as always.
Awesome. Something else fun we have going on is get ready to plug into safety with our 2025 Kids Coloring Contest.
Sweet.
Kids 12 and under can enter for a chance to win a shockingly awesome basket full of, I'm talking art supplies, safety tips, fun goodies. They are packed full. This contest is going to run May 1st through May 23rd. You can pick up a sheet at any TVEC office or download it online. We've got an article that you can go to tvec.net/news and find that there. This masterpiece that you make, of course, does need to be turned in physically to a TVEC office during business hours. We've got 3 different age groups: apprentice linemen, 5 and under, our first class linemen, 6 to 9, and journeyman lineman prize for those who are 10 to 12. Those winners are going to be announced after the contest ends. Click on the link in the article if you want to download that sheet. Again, come pick one up here in the office, and you can read more about it on social media. And
that is going to be fun to share with everybody. And the actual picture, the coloring page, is one of our linemen.
It is.
That's fun.
It's Damian Gwynn, and we've also got some, if you're coloring that too, we're going to be putting out some crossword puzzles that go with that safety gear that he's actually wearing on that page.
Very fun. All right. What else is going on this month? Sales tax holiday. So another thing that's in the magazine is some stuff about efficient appliances. And if you are in the need of or want to upgrade your appliances to Energy Star rated items, there are some tax incentives coming up the weekend of May 24th through 26th. It'd be a good time to save that 8.25% or whatever it is these days in your area and save money in the long run with an efficient appliance. That's always good. And
Chris Walker has that article, and then we'll be sure to share it social media and in a newsletter that you will all be getting as members. Yeah, stay tuned for a reminder there. Another thing in the magazine that we add to the blinks here is there are scammers out there, and there's an article in there about scammers who take advantage of power outages and blanket calls to members. So just be sure you are aware. We don't call for payment, and we also don't call to try to get your power on any faster. That wouldn't happen, and that would be somebody trying to scam you out of something. Another another blink, I guess you could say, in the magazine, you can be introduced to Derek Hulsher. Derek has stepped in to fill in the board seat for District 4. He has been in business down there. He's in the insurance business down around Cedar Creek Lake and very active in the business community down there. Seems like a great guy when I talk to him, and I know he'll do a great job for members. He is a member down there, and I look forward to getting to know him a little better. There's information about him in the magazine, and he takes the seat that was vacated by the loss of Miss Joanne. Certainly going to miss her. And so thanks, Derek, for stepping in for that. Okay, that's all for the blinks. Now, it is storm season. Last May was just a terrible storm. We had lots of outages, lots of damage. It was almost like hurricane-style storm. It was all over the place, lots of trees, poles down. So this month in our Texas Co-op Power magazine, we have an article from none other than General Manager Jeff Lane. He explains how our crews respond to outages and keep your lights on through storms and emergencies. We've heard about this from him before, but today we have here Trevor Moeller, who is our dispatch superintendent. He is over our system operators, and we have him here to talk about those power restorations and how it happens in their world. Welcome, Trevor.
Thanks for having me.
I think members might find it interesting that, the dispatch center is sort of the hub of everything that's going on. Yeah, we recently put that post out about, because it was Communicators Day, telecommunicators, exactly. Yeah. And so people were very happy and did notice the work that you guys do.
Well, we appreciate you spotlighting the team that week, and I know they felt grateful and appreciative of it.
Most people sort of know the crews out there in their trucks aren't just acting on their own. Give us just a high level of what's going on behind the scenes. When the storms blow through, somebody has to recognize what's going on, and somebody has to, y'all are planning well ahead and watching the weather well ahead. But once everything gets in motion, what's that like from y'all's perspective, and what's going on behind the scenes to restore power? What are y'all up to in there?
Well, we're up to, like you said, we monitor the weather and storms and events coming in beforehand, and then we monitor the outages as they come in during the storm, and it's ever changing. So we have to keep our heads on a swivel and be able to notice the new things that come in and change our plan from as the storm progresses and moves through the system. And the ultimate goal as those storms come in is to restore as many meters as possible as safety allows. So that comes from, responding to down lines, major circuit outages, and so forth. And a lot of the times we have to wait for the storm to ride out and go completely through the system before we in turn send the crews out to start on the restoration for the safety for them.
That's right. Y'all are watching more than the power. Y'all are watching the weather like a hawk, because I've heard on the radio, y'all, like, hey, if you're north of Canton, you guys move out of the way because the storm's coming this way. That's, wherever that storm happens to be going, you are also pushing people out of the way for safety.
That is correct. This last storm we had, I think there was 5 tornado warnings that just kind of popped up as crews were already en route to some outages. So we had to pull the reins back and take cover.
And you guys, too, you have to also think about that people are going out and assessing the damage first. So you're having to, in a way, you're like little puzzle pieces that you're putting together to make sure that we all get restored. But again, like you said, most effectively, efficiently, and safely. the most important.
That is correct. And every storm's different. Some storms like that where we do have to go into what we call assessment mode when you have high winds and a lot of lines that get tore down and reports of broke poles, rather than just trying to react to the outages and restore right away. To get as many meters on as quick as possible and as safe as possible, sometimes we do go into assessment mode and try to get out there and assess everything with everybody before we really start just trying to restore that particular outage. So we get a big overview of what kind of damage we have, what kind of contract crews we might need to call in for extra crews to assist in the restoration efforts.
That's a good segue to that bit about contract crews and mutual aid crews coming from other co-ops. Once the storm reaches a certain level, it is more efficient to bring in extra help. So what is you guys' role in sort of forecasting what's going on and seeing what extra help we might need in the field?
Our main role as operators is to communicate what we have out, what we know, what information has been given to us, whether that comes from the different 911 departments that call in for lines down, from our crews calling in the damage assessments they have, from our assessors seeing what they have, and just relaying that information to upper management of saying, hey, this is something that's going to take a couple of days or a little bit longer because the reports of the damage. We're going to need some extra crews in here for pole change outs, to pick up lines and things like that, because our crews is not going to be enough. It's going to really take a toll on them to try to get all this done on their own. So we just relay the information that we see from the number of outages, the reports of the damage from the outages that have been looked at.
So from our communication side, a lot of times our role is keeping in touch with you guys too, so that we can update members on social media or in our posts online. But that also tends to sometimes bring people to us and reporting outages through social media, which isn't always the best thing to do. And we don't at all suggest it, because there is a system in place. And by the time that we get that information to them, it could have already been given in several other ways. So let us know, what is the best way for these members to report these outages? How do you play a role in that? And why is it helpful that you guys see the information?
Well, first and foremost, do not assume your power outage has been reported if you have not contacted us.
Okay.
Every situation is different, so you want to make sure you contact us. And in regards to that, you want to make sure that your contact info is up to date on a regular basis. So when you do contact us, you are reporting from the correct phone number. We have your correct address and location. I'm a member myself, and with the new Smart Hub app that we have,
Smart Hub,
you can report your outage in like 3 clicks of a button on your phone. It takes less than 30 seconds to report an outage. And so the more information that we have from you that's up to date, and if you're reporting it, we can contact you back if necessary, if your contact number is there and we have the correct phone number, so we can handle your issue as quick as possible and as safely as possible if we can contact you by a phone call if we need to or whatnot.
It's good mention. So we'll make sure that we put out again how to update that contact information, how you can go about doing that just before we come into storm season.
Yeah, and there's a technical bit behind that as well, because our metering system doesn't tell us when there's an outage out there. That does have to come from member reporting, right?
That is correct.
So, especially if it's a single outage, we wouldn't know. If it's part of a bigger outage, we might find out after the fact when a portion is restored, and we call those meters essentially to say, hey, is everybody back on? But in a situation, we want to know that you're out, because that puts you on a list to say, is this person back on yet? You're on the map, as it were.
Does that mean you're going to get the most number of people on as quickly as possible, which may not be the person that's right next door to you is on the same meter, right?
In the case of my house, we had an outage where everybody around us was back on, and you think, oh, this house down the street from me is back on. I'm in the same line. I don't see any damage. But my line is actually fed from a whole different direction than I assumed. So just because the house next to you is on doesn't mean that you're actually in the same line. How does that work?
Like you said, there's a lot of our infrastructure that kind of butts up to each other from different circuits and substations and different line fuses and things like that, where you would expect, hey, my neighbor's on, but I'm not. But like you said, it might be from a different feeder, it might be from a different substation, or just a different line fuse that feeds you, or it could be y'all were all at the same time, they all came back on and you did not. Well, that could be because there could be an individual transformer issue or another line issue up the road that doesn't affect your neighbors as it affects you.
Right.
So that's why it's real important to go back to reporting your original outage. And then if you do notice your neighbors come back on and you don't, it's still safe to go ahead and report that back again, that you're still out. A lot of times we know with that situation if you've recorded it the first time, but it's always good practice just to call back in and say, hey, my neighbors did come on or I did not,
Right.
to make sure we are aware.
And back to that important of keeping your information updated. Let's say your neighborhood's back on, but your main breaker of your house is gone. We might be able to call you and say, hey, we're showing your power is back on. Go check your breaker, because you might be sitting there in the dark unnecessarily.
Yes,
I've seen
and we see that quite often, especially in lightning storms and things like that, where everybody does come back on, but you as an individual might not. On our end, your meter will ping on, and we can see you do have power. It's always best to go check your meter. Hey, does it have a display? Does it say on, off, open, close? Is there a reading on that meter? And if there is, it's good practice to check your main breakers. And if you have two, you have one on your meter pole, check that one, and you might have one in the house as well. It's always good practice to check those.
Okay, one more quick thing. I'm running along here for your time. I appreciate your time. One of the things you have to do as dispatch superintendent is keep up with technology. We've got some neat stuff coming you've told us about previously on the front of automatically restoring some outages. So give members a little bit of information about what's coming down the line in the next couple of years, where some of this stuff can be automated to get some people back on while we restore damage in an area. That's exciting stuff.
It's very exciting and should greatly help Trinity Valley restore as many meters as possible, as quick as possible, as safety allows. Having what we call automatic switches, they are able to detect faults in certain areas, and then the brains of the system will be able to kind of identify, hey, the fault was here. I can open this breaker and close this device to restore the members here, to minimize the number of meters that are out, and it also minimizes the area that the linemen have to go troubleshoot for the power.
Right.
So it should aid in those restoration efforts, and if they don't have as long of section of lines to ride out to troubleshoot, the power for those members that are still out, it should come back on a little quicker.
Just a lot more efficient in how we approach it. So more brains of the operation in the machine, as it were.
That is correct.
We've taken it away from Trevor and put it in the machine.
A lot of that is going that way, and it's going to be very beneficial for the members of the co-op and for the employees.
Well, I'm glad we got you running the machine. How about that? Thanks for your time. Thanks for stopping by, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again as storm season progresses. Maybe we'll have some other updates, and hopefully it's not like last May when we had a ridiculous storm roll through.
Yes, sir.
So far, this year's been pretty good.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you. So that was really, really interesting to hear from Trevor. Of course, they really are, I would say, the brains and sometimes are of Trinity Valley. We all work here together. And another way that we all work together is you members, you turning your coins into change for, of course, Operation Roundup.
All right.
And we had several great grants that went out here in April. We've got Faith in Action, Isaiah 4031 Foundation, that Kaufman High School Now Backpack Program, which is an amazing program, La Pointer ISD, Lila Lane Outreach, Promised Land Preschool here in Kaufman. And then, of course, we also do bill assistance. So the Helping Hands of Maybank and Henderson County Help Center were both given $5,000, and that is to help with bill assistance for members that could use it. And, you never know when you're going to need it.
Right.
So make sure that you are rounding up. Of course, it's a voluntary program, but you really do see those dollars turn into big change.
And I should put a plug in here since you mentioned that. Bill assistance, if you go onto tvec.net, there is a page dedicated to organizations in your area that may be helpful if you or someone you know could use assistance for power bills. There are resources available. We don't do direct grants to individuals because that would put us in a place of choosing who gets assistance or not. But these organizations are good at taking care of people. They know how to do it right, and they will do it. So that's awesome.
Along with food pantries and other typical charitable organizations, veterans organizations are, of course, a big focus of these ORU grants that are received. This month in May is Military Appreciation Month. We talked to Robert Hunter, Kaufman County Veterans Advocate. He also takes care of the Veterans Memorial right here in Kaufman County, and he has got some great things to share with you and how members can get involved and how you should go take a look at that local Veterans Memorial Park or maybe one that's in your backyard.
Sure. Robert Hunter, Kaufman County. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, Robert. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Robert Hunter. I am the Kaufman County Veteran Services Officer. I assist veterans in navigating all of the red tape that is the VA. I help them file claims. I help them with appeals. I help them with education benefits. Really just kind of a one-stop shop. If it's not something we do directly, then we generally provide them with, a referral to an agency or somebody that deals with whatever their specific need is. I'm a 24-year veteran of the United States Army myself.
At the bottom of your email, the sign off is dust off. So I'm guessing there was some helicopter relation in there somewhere.
I have a passion for helicopters, yes. I was a flight medic in the Army, so I spent about 17 years jumping in and out of the back of one of those helicopters, picking up patients and taking them to higher levels of care, removing them from, their point of injury or sometimes transfers from one hospital to another.
Well, how important is that in being in your role to really understand and have that career behind you to understand where all these veterans are coming from?
Well, I think my particular job in particular is very beneficial. I mean, as a veteran, obviously we share all of the same common grounds. We're all a brother and sisterhood. So we all share and suffer from so many of the same situations or circumstances, whether it be disability claims or desiring education, maybe even something that's just as simple as property tax relief, because of being a veteran. But as a medic, I think I have a higher understanding of, when these guys come in and they're filing like disability claims, I feel like I have a little bit of a head start in understanding their needs, because they may come in and say that they have a back problem, but I will understand because of that problem, and my understanding of the medical, field is they're going to also most likely have some conditions that they weren't even thinking about.
All right.
That they don't even realize that they have those conditions. So that's proved very beneficial over the last 8 years in helping to further develop claims for veterans with the VA. So certainly being a medic was cool.
That's awesome. So just first and foremost, too, hey, I'm Leigh. Thank you so much for your service specifically.
That was my honor. No thanks necessary.
Well, we have several veterans who work here and have nothing but positive things to say about these guys because of their background. But thank you for providing those services to them. That's really cool. And I know specifically you work at the Memorial Park. So I just want to know, I didn't even know where it was located. And of course, I'm from here. I work here. So can you tell us a little bit about the Memorial Park and how far it's come and any plans for development on that?
Absolutely. So you would be surprised. The park was dedicated in 2005, November of 2005.
Okay.
And when it started, there was a group of people, a collective board, if you will, one of which was Ray Raymond, who's also very close to the TVEC.
Oh, yeah.
And so He's still a very large part today, and he still serves on the board, which is the Friends of Kaufman County Veterans Park. And so the park has kind of two elements. One is it's a county property, obviously, so maintenance and things of that nature fall under the county to maintain. So we mow it, we weed eat it, and we make repairs when something is broken. Mm-hmm. Now, the board, the Friends of Kaufman County, they were stood up to help continue to grow the park and to continue to improve the park, not just by repairs, but by adding things. So when the park was originally created, it was just that very front section. They brought the tank in. We ended up, because I wasn't here at the time, they brought in the 4/5 scale replica of the Vietnam War Memorial, the wall. Which is just a very somber piece in the back of the park there. It spans almost the entire width of the property. It's just an amazing thing. We've put lights on that Vietnam wall so that veterans can visit it at night. Those that may suffer from PTSD and whatnot and don't want to be out during the daylight and around crowds can now go to the Vietnam wall in the comfort and privacy of the evening and not be as noticed, so to speak. We've added a POW MIA Rolling Thunder chair just in front of the wall. We built a brand new pavilion dedicated to hold all of our annual ceremonies that we do. Most recently, and kind of significantly important to you guys, is we just had, we received a Cobra helicopter from the Marines, from Ken Waterston. He is a Marine Corps League Vietnam Purple Heart veteran, and he donated the helicopter to the park.
Oh, wow.
And it was on a trailer, and he told us that the only thing he asked is that we would put it on a concrete foundation and make sure that it's lit in accordance with any other monuments that are in the park.
There you go.
And of course we said yes. I took him to Commissioner's Court. We got the donation approved, and so in long story short, we got a concrete pad poured, and then facilities in order to kind of get the helicopter put into a safe place instead of just parked on a road on a trailer. Pulled it into the park on the trailer. And then just this past week, Monday, TVEC came out there. A wonderful crew of guys came out. Josh and his guys came out with some TVC equipment, and we lifted the helicopter up in the air about a foot, and the facilities department hooked up the trailer to the truck, pulled that out from underneath it, and then TVEC lowered it down onto the pad. We got it centered and placed and took pictures and just, now it's bolted down, and so it's not going to go anywhere. And so, yeah, that's the big thing. That's the new thing. So that's the thing that's most recent anyway.
Yeah, between the tank and the helicopter, it's getting to be a little collection out there. And I know I don't want to speak for the guys who are out there, but I know for all the hard work they do with all that equipment during the regular work week, having something like that where they can kind of give back a little bit and also use their skills and equipment in a unique way like that is really cool. They enjoy doing those kinds of things.
Oh, it was most neat, and you could truly tell when we were out there that they were very stoked to do that. I think you hit the nail on the head. They're hired to do a job. In fact, ironically, I had a tree break at my house on Easter Sunday.
Oh no!
And it fell, and when it fell, actually a large branch of the tree fell, and it landed on the power line, but it didn't break the line, and it didn't fall all the way. But I was very concerned that it would and be a fire hazard. So, of course, we called the appropriate people, and Trinity Valley sent out a crew. And lo and behold, the young man that came out there and did the majority of the air work was, in fact, the same individual who helped us
nice.
Lower that helicopter. So I got to imagine, it is, you get called out to do stuff like that on holidays, and sometimes it's a very unthankful job. The customers aren't generally saying, hey, thanks for cutting cutting the trees down or anything, and so here they get to come out to the Veterans Park and they get to put kind of their finger on it, and when they leave, that they know from now and forever that they played a part, and they played a part in that particular piece being there.
Most definitely.
And now it gives them a sense of connection. Some of those fellas that came out there that day were actually veterans themselves.
Yes, indeed.
Jaime is.
Yep.
That's right. Yep, that's who it was. And so, of course, I gave him my card, and I pitched my spill to him as well.
Sure.
Hey, you need to come see me sometime. So,
by the way,
yeah, it was really, really cool.
Well, we talk about promoting you guys, and of course, we put the helicopter move on social media. I think me and Dawn may have an excuse to come out there and take some video of what's going on and share, because I just want to go out there and see stuff. But maybe Dawn could ask you a little bit more, too, about the grant that y'all recently received and how that plays into it.
Right. I got to go out there when they did that and take a picture. But that's the other side of this podcast, too, is talking about what the Operation Roundup, that means you're a member. So you see on your bill where it's rounded up at the end of the month, that extra 99 cents or the extra 2 cents or whatever it might be. That money all goes to great causes. And as you mentioned, the Friends of the Kaufman County Veterans Memorial received a grant recently, and you kind of alluded to something new that's coming. So what is that new that's coming, and how does a grant like the one you got from the foundation, how does that play into all that?
Well, it's tremendously beneficial to us. As you're well aware, it's not very often that somebody drops by and just drops a large monument on your head as a donation. These things typically, they require costs, and the board is hoping and trying its best to procure and install a Gold Star monument. If you're not familiar, these are very beautiful. They are 4-piece granite monuments, and on the front side, it basically just says for the Gold Star families, dedicated, so on and so on. We'll have wording to come, and then on the back side, it's got home, service, country, and there'll be pictures that we get to choose kind of applicable to like Kaufman County, if you will.
Right.
And so, and then in between two of these pieces, there's a silhouette of a service person saluting. And so it's really, really, it's just a beautiful piece. Kaufman County, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of names on the walls in the front of the park. Those names at the front of the park, they are just names of Kaufman County veterans who served during those wars. They're not, it's not like the Vietnam Wall. These are just Kaufman County folks. And so the Terrell 5 is probably the most notable recent loss that we know. And that's a period basically from 2004, April of 2004 through basically October of 2009. So just slightly more than a 5-year period, we lost 5 service members from the town of Terrell.
Yes, sir.
All to, the current operations at hand, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Iraq, so on and so on. So anyone that would like to see one, they can in person go to Corsicana to see the one at their courthouse, or they can Google Map and just do Street View and look at it as well, if going to Corsicana is not something they can do. But I've seen one of these in person, and I just thought how beautiful it was, and how that would, what kind of a statement or tribute to those folks and those families. And so we made the push to try and get one, and we're now in the process of raising funds. And so the grant that we received from TVEC is just tremendous, because it just takes us that much closer towards our end point, which is having this monument built and then installed in that park right there in front. And I think it'll be, I told Ray Raymond, I said, okay, if we get this done and we get this in there, I think I get to retire then, right? And I said, I've done everything you've asked me to do, right? I'm done. And he goes, nope. He said, then you'll just have to start thinking of some new stuff of your own. And
in that vein, for TVEC members who may want to contribute outside, on their own, what is the route for that to happen?
they can call this office. That's clearly one of the few things they can do right off the bat. They can call this office. I can put them in touch with the appropriate people. So because I'm a county employee, I told, I've kind of worked it out with my board. I don't do a lot of the money touching. I let them touch all the
Good
money
call.
because
Good
I don't
call.
ever want I don't ever want anything, that cross-contamination, if you will, that you could reach out to my office, and I will certainly provide anyone who wants to donate with an avenue and an address to where they can, drop their donations or send in their donations. I believe that they were working, and I don't know that they have it done yet or not, but I believe they were working on some type of an electronic thing like, what is that, the little barcode thing you can scan
Yeah, the QR codes,
and take you to a website. Yeah, there you have QR code. So there's probably going to be something like that before it's all said and done. But for now, I think most of the donations are coming from, word of mouth requests, and then they're just, most of them have been in the form of a check that have been mailed into the appropriate people. They can certainly call this office, 469-376-4644. That's my office. This phone is monitored, Monday through Friday. I have a voicemail. We talked about at the very, very beginning where there's still so many people that they've lived here their whole lives, and they're not aware that the park is there or what it means or represents or how to be involved. And if you have a veteran, I think one of the, almost more importantly than trying to figure out a way to raise money and everything, if you have a veteran whose name should be on one of the actual monuments in the park, then I would encourage you to reach out to my office. We have a list of requirements or eligibility requirements set forth by the original founders of the park. And essentially you have to meet 2, I think, of the 9 elements. Then you'll submit the DD-214 for that veteran in case they're deceased. A family member can certainly do this for them. But you'll submit the DD-214, and then they do require an honorable discharge. And then what we will do in part of these monies that the park raises, this is also that money, even the TVEC grant, which we hope to fund largely towards our Gold Star Monument project, but just in general, all proceeds that we receive, we pay for the names on the walls. The county, we do that as a symbol of our honor, respect, and appreciation for veterans. So the park board pays the cost of having names put on there. And
Memorial Day is coming up pretty quickly.
Yes, sir.
So what are the plans out there at the Kaufman County Veterans Memorial, and what can people expect, and what kind of turnout would you like to see there?
Well, I'm always wanting to see a big turnout.
Sure.
Actually, the park does 3 ceremonies. We do Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and Wreaths Across America. Every one of our ceremonies, so that there's no confusion at any time throughout the year, every one of our ceremonies starts at 11 o'clock on the appropriate holiday. The only one that rotates a little bit is Wreaths Across America, and that's generally the day is picked by the Wreaths Across America Foundation, and it's typically like the 3rd Saturday or 2nd Saturday of the month. So, but the time is going to remain the same, and the Memorial Day and Veterans Day, they happen on the holiday. So we will be holding a ceremony, a memorial ceremony on Memorial Day this year. So that's Monday, and it'll be at 11 o'clock. And so we'll have a guest speaker, and I think this year I think we might have finally nailed down. I've always wanted to hear bagpipes, and so I think we finally nailed down somebody to play bagpipes. Inside the flyer, we of course recognize every veteran that Kaufman County has lost since the last Memorial Day. So as of right now, my list is at 208 veterans, and so myself and Belinda, we put together this program. We print it, and with the help of some the printing part of it, we get help from. But we design it, put it together, and we build it. We've got one more report to get from the VA, and they will usually give us that first week of the month. So there's a complete insert inside the program, so that loved ones will have kind of a memento, if you will, that just that their family members were recognized and honored, at a county level in a public format. So yeah, absolutely, it's going to be awesome.
Very good. Well, Sure appreciate your time, and I guess like people can find you on the county website, and you've given your phone number. Any last word to veterans out there who haven't jumped in and figured out what kind of services the county can help them with, or to the general public? What you get the last word.
I guess the biggest advice I can give you is when in doubt, seek me out. Try not to do something on your own necessarily. We're all smart and we're probably capable, but I highly encourage every veteran to seek out. They don't have to use me. You have so many choices and so much opportunity, but I highly encourage every veteran to seek out a VSO to assist them, to guide them, to nurture them, to explain the different benefits and what's available to them, and then help guide them down the path of trying to procure that benefit. So as we've said, I've given my number out. We're located in the old county jail back in the 80s, so 3001 South Washington Street is my office. Okay. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. every day. We close for lunch just like any other business, and we're closed on any county approved holiday. Right. But other than that, we're in here. Like I said, it's me and I have one other staff member. And so you should, for the most part, get to at least, speak to one of us, leave a voicemail. We do sometimes get busy. So if you leave a voicemail, just be patient. I promise we will call you back. It takes a day or two sometimes to catch up.
Is that position that you're in pretty common in counties? Because our service territory goes down to Anderson and Henderson and Van Zant counties. I know
Absolutely,
Van Zant has some services.
Henderson County has, that's Clay Roundtree. He's the veteran service officer. He's stationed out of Athens. The Van Zant County service officer is actually retiring. And so they'll begin the process of trying to find a replacement for him. But yeah, almost every county in the state of Texas has a veteran service officer position. Great. There are a few that don't in some of your more rural, limited areas. But what you'll find in those areas is that oftentimes one county will take on the responsibility of, say, 3 or 4 counties in the area.
Gotcha.
Anyone that calls here is going to get help. And if they don't get help directly from us, then they're going to at least get the information necessary to reach out to their local VSOs. But almost every county has one. Definitely all of the ones in this immediate area.
We'll probably have to edit this down just a little bit because we talked a little bit, but I sure appreciate your time and for talking to us about all the things you've got going on over there. I just want to say keep up the great work and for taking care of our military folks as a grandson of one and my son now, who we've taken him out there to the park to have lunch, and he's thinking about an Air Force career. The memorial parks have a way, for as long as time, we've memorialized the warriors, but of sort of keeping that service as a community project and a community value with even the kids. So I appreciate it and look forward to
pleasure
getting out there as much as we can.
Thank you, Robert.
You guys come by and visit us anytime. We'd love to have you.
Thanks again. Have a great weekend.
You guys do the same, and dust off to you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Robert. So, of course, it was wonderful hearing from him, but also right here at Trinity Valley, we have several of our own veterans that work here. They served our country, and now they're serving you, the members. We're going to be highlighting them more throughout the month of May, but we just want to give a shout out to them as a thank you to their service. That's Brian Hicks, Journeyman Lineman, Cody Trimble, also Journeyman Lineman, Delton Reynolds, Apprentice Lineman 3. And then we've got Howard Tillison, that is our board chairman and board director of District 6. Jaime Lamas, Apprentice Lineman 4. Rodney Wesley, Director of Engineering and Operations. Sean Shanley, he is an AMI technician. And Zachary Cornelius, also AMI technician. Thank you so much for your service. It is so appreciated.
Very much so. And turns out they're all great employees as well. That service set them up to be.
Oh, yes. I've heard some great things about these guys because they're very dedicated, and it's just these are the guys that you want serving you.
Absolutely. Now, we have another person who is a veteran lineman. He's not a military veteran, but John Jackson.
That's right.
45 years of service in the co-op and he is calling it a day. He is retiring.
Hanging up his hard hat.
It was just the other day we had a conversation with John. His last day, I believe, will be May 1st. And if you're down in the Athens area, you may know John. Apparently, a lot of people have John on speed dial when there are any power issues. And well, just listen to the interview. You can hear how dedicated he has been to serving TVEC members, or New Era, when he started, New Era members down south. And man, what a career.
Yep. And he didn't shed any tears on this interview, but we'll be taking a look tomorrow with him for his retirement celebration. And we hope to gather some great pictures of that. But here's John.
I feel like I'm taking a lie detector test.
We could do that. When you feel a little jolt, anytime you say something that's a little bit off.
One time.
Did you really?
Back in the old days when you hired on somewhere, I was 16 years old. And I went in there and you had to take one to go to work for Buddy's grocery store.
Man. So we can start there. That's exactly where we can start.
It scared the hell out of this one woman, Ricky Foster's aunt. She passed out on the floor.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So that was actually where we're going to start. Is what did you start? And you got 45 years here. What did you do before working here? Anything?
I worked at, I moved on Stay Away Ranch when I was 11 years old.
Stay Away Ranch.
Yeah, it was a cattle ranch and a fish farm, and I was on the fish side, and I stayed there 11 years.
Okay.
We left there 2 or 3 times. We'd get into it, and I'd leave. One day I left out of there, and I just went down to it, parked right in front of his mailbox in his building, Highway 31. I just walked over there and went to work on the highway.
Man.
Yeah.
That's a different time and place altogether.
And there I was, 17 years old, and we had to go to Kilgore, and he took me and another guy and let his grown hands go. And the next year he called in July, wanted me to come back, and we loaded up and went to Austin and worked on the power plant.
Huh.
And I didn't go back my senior year till October. We finished that job. And I loaded up and gave me a pink slip and a badge and said, you can go to work anywhere you want to. And I said, well, I want to go and get my finish school. And he said, go finish it. And he said, and I'll see you next year.
Wow.
And walked out of there.
Wow. So what do you attribute that to? Just hard-working man?
That's what you had to be in them days.
In them days.
Yeah. You sure did.
That's not to say that there's not hard-working guys these days, at least not out in your line of work.
Well, you didn't have all the rules that you do today.
Right.
And young help, that's all you had was kids. Mm-hmm. You know, 14, 15, 16, 17. That was your laborers in those days.
So all the training was on-the-job training.
All of it.
Huh.
And I went to work for Mr. Henderson, for that guy that I was telling you about there on Highway 31, and he showed us what he wanted, and we went to doing it. And he was a carpenter. Directly throwed my hammer over in the creek, and he said, "Time you get that hammer found," he said, "I'll have this finished." Wow. I mean, you wasn't timid. If you had something to do, you went at it.
Wow.
And sure did.
All right. Well, somehow that led you into what would have been New Era.
Well, the fish farm did. Jerry Smiley came down there, and he said, "Boy, are you going to stay here the rest of your life?" And I said, "No, I think I'm going to go to the oil field." Okay. And I said, "I got a lot of oil field business, them fish cooks and all that stuff." And I said, "I think I'm going to the oil field." He said, "You won't ever have a damn thing." He said, "You go to work for us," and he said, "You'll have something one day." Okay. So I went to work for him. I got my first check, and I thought, my God, what'd they forget? There wasn't enough check there to park in town.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And that's where it began.
And then from there, it's just been a progression. So you were just a line hand? What did they call that job at the time?
He was a groundman. They called them grunts.
Grunts, yeah.
And they used that term for years. And I hated it. And when I moved inside, we stopped it.
Mm-hmm. Really? For everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So, So do you see that as kind of the legacy of what you've done here is sort of making changes and as you've kind of developed in that role, and now you're a leader in the line side of on the outside workers. What do you see as your contribution as you go out the door? Like, what have you left?
I think I always give someone the opportunity to don't be afraid to make a decision. A lot of times somebody will call you and, hey, I want to do so-and-so, so-and-so. And I'll go, did you make a pretty good decision this morning when you got up? And they say, I guess, why? I said, well, make one now. Now you got to live with it. Right. You don't want to turn back around and tell somebody that was dumb. You got to live with it. But that's the only way you can figure out how another employee thinks. Right. If you let him think. And I think I've done a very strong deal in that side of it. Don't do as I say do. Yeah. Do what you think.
Not micromanaging, but managing people up.
Yeah. Well, as long as you'll get up and get out and get started, it'll take care of itself.
What has your relationship with members been like over the course of, or how has it changed over the course of the years?
I've never, even as hard-nosed as everyone says I am, I've never had any trouble with a member. You know, when he calls you, he's paying your bills.
Right.
And if he's just upside down, there's something there somewhere that's bothered him. Right. And if you'll just question him and be easy and go along for a little bit, don't back off. You know, if you're making a rule, you should have a reason for it. Right. And pretty much every time, it's always worked out. I've never had a problem with a member.
So how many members have your phone number on speed dial?
A bunch of them.
So what do you do with that? They'll still be calling you for years.
I'll answer it.
There you go.
How about that?
You know, this place here is what gives me the opportunity to go home. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I still owe them.
Very good. It's going to be a little different place without you here. What do you think when people go, hey, John Jackson used to do this or that? What are the things that will be the legacy of John Jackson when people are talking about you behind your back?
That I would do what I said I'd do. Okay. And I would stay hooked with it. If
somebody was going to compare themselves to you, that would be the good side to do it.
Do you remember your first big storm response or major outage event?
Do I remember the first one?
Mm-hmm. Which one sticks out to you that really made an impact?
I want to say last year was, that sounds like I'm being shallow, but it's not. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest storm out of my 45 years here.
Really?
Wow, the May storm.
Yeah. It kind of came through like a hurricane.
Yeah, you know, it ain't every day you wake up with 45,000 people out.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That is true.
And, you know, you can make all the plans you want to, but sometimes you got to start winging it. And when you got outages like that, you get on the bigger highways, and that's what you get up.
Any other times stand out in the history of? I mean, the big tornadoes in 2017.
We had a substation burned down one time.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And when Jack was here, you put them all back together yourself. Everything you did, everything you didn't have the contractors and all this stuff. And Jeff Seaton, he'd lost his life here, and so I was lead. And Kevin Newbill, it was his first days to ever get on a bucket truck. Wow! And we built poles down there to make everything work that you can't even take pictures of. Look like you're overseas. And I always thought to myself, he never had to get worried. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Other than big storms and everything else, it's just everyday work. And I think there's a lot to be said for, I've only been here 9 years, but of getting the daily job done. And so if you are out talking to members, what would be your sort of overall pitch? What is it you'd say about the men and women who work in this place and the dedication to our territory from our people? How would you sum that up for people?
I'm going to say that the negativity in this operation is very few, and it's few enough. Like myself, I don't ever hear it. Not that it isn't out there. I'm not going to say it's not out there. But you're asking me. So to me, there's not any. Everybody is proud to be here, the people you work for. And, it's no more just cowboy up, you do it my way. We are going to do it. And this thing's big enough now that you have to, there's a lot of stuff that you just have to do differently. You don't just walk up there and kill it out because you got schools. We didn't have no schools on our system. We had Cayuga, and they didn't know if they had lights back in them days. We didn't, you didn't have schools on it.
Yeah.
Now you got schools all over the system. So you got in businesses, we didn't have businesses out here. Right. If it was off, we'll get down there. Now, everything counts.
It's a good outlook. I never thought about it like that, the differences and the growth and how much more important that is.
Yeah, it's you're not in the city, but you got city work.
All right. Well, this part is kind of talking to members. So I'm just going to wrap that up and say, I know from everybody that I've met here has sure appreciated what you've brought to the table. And so for members too, I'm sure, just like you were saying, you're still going to be answering the phone. That type of work ethic and taking responsibility for it, I think means a lot. And that ends up being taught to everybody else that's come behind you. So I think that's a good legacy to have.
I believe in it.
You're going to have to listen to this podcast and follow us on Facebook and stuff, so that way when a member calls, you know what's going on.
You may have already covered this, but the best piece of advice you've ever received could be from company, or could be from family, could be anything. Best piece of advice you'd share.
I guess just the value of being honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man of your word.
You've had people tell you, no, you wouldn't do that because you're a better person than that.
That's good. That's good.
So,
and that really happened. That was Ernest Crown about 45 years ago.
Oh, wow. Right. That stuck with you. That's good.
So who was Ernest?
He was an engineer up at work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Shout out to Ernest. Okay. Last one.
Yep. You're going to be going into retirement, of course. Maybe you're going to write a biography, an autobiography. What would the title of that be?
You can do it.
You can do it. That is great. All right, John Jackson. It has been fun. Thanks for coming up to Kaufman to talk to us. But appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, how do you top 45 years at, a job where you really are providing a service to the community, to your neighbors, and man, that is something to aspire to.
It truly is, and just to know that that's something he said that was so important is that it starts at the top, but because he listens to those below him, and we all work together here to make sure that our members are taken care of efficiently and safely. And man, John Jackson is a true testament to that.
He may have a second career ready for himself as a management consultant or something. He does bring the wisdom.
He does.
He's also pretty funny.
Without meaning to be, I think.
So he can be a comedian and also a business consultant. So that's good stuff. Okay, so let's wrap this thing up. We've got more content in the magazine. Be sure and check out your Texas Co-op Power for May. Lots of good stuff. There's from our statewide organization that produces the magazine. There's a great article about storm chasers and how they do what they do. Let's hope they don't stay busy in Texas this year, but it's a great article. Some stuff about the German roots of some Texas folks. If you've been down to the Hill Country, you might have enjoyed some good German food or polka dancing or something fun.
I need to read that article. My mom lived in Germany until she was 14.
Oh, yeah? Well, she might need to take a trip down to Wahlberg is where this one is. For those of you who love the recipes in Texas Co-op Power, it's enchiladas. And, in Texas, we love our enchiladas. There are some very interesting ones. Black bean breakfast enchiladas. Have you ever had enchiladas for breakfast?
Well, I've had leftover enchiladas from the night before for breakfast, but I wasn't intentional.
I don't think you can go wrong with enchiladas the whole day. Another one from you can submit recipes for these contests, and that's how we end up with some winners from time to time. The winner is shrimp enchiladas from a lady at Pedernales Electric Cooperative down by Austin. Looks really good. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these recipes. Chet Garner goes to visit some exotic animals we have some of these parks around here in the TVEC service area that have some fun drive-through safari park type things. Enjoy those. He's got a little funny anecdote there. And yeah, it's a good month to check out the magazine. My favorite part of the magazine, of course.
Is it the lineman lunch?
It's the lineman lunch. And do check out Los Socios down in Cayuga. I got to go down there for one particular reason. They actually have a plate named after one of our guys. Is that funny?
So Cayuga is the same as Crossroads?
It's very close.
Okay.
Their address is Cayuga. If you go from the Crossroads School about a mile south, you're there.
Okay.
So I guess, Crossroads is more appropriate. You're right. But it's in that area. And go visit Los Socios and try the Billy Platter.
That is named after none other than our very own Billy Sherrill.
Billy Sherrill. And he's been enjoying their food down there for a couple of years. He said he asked them to build this thing, which is some enchiladas with some fajita meat style stuff on top. And just, you can see a picture there in the magazine. It is a pile of tasty goodness. I enjoyed it. And yeah, Billy has good taste. Maybe you can try that out.
Maybe you can get your own thing named after you.
Right. If you visit enough, you might have your own plate. Very good. We also have on that same page the TVEC Energy Quiz. If you have a little bit of either research skill or maybe random knowledge in your head, where was the first controlled self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction achieved? At least the first one that was done on purpose that we know of, other than the sun and that sort of thing. I guess God did it first, usually.
Yes, I think he did everything first.
So then answer that question at contest@tvec.coop. You could win a $100 bill credit. There's also the random account number hidden in the pages, in the middle pages, our TVEC pages of the magazine. So go check that out. You also could win $100 bill credits. So there you go. And for people who made it to the end of this podcast, thank you very much for sticking around. You can also send us an email at contest@tvec.coop and tell us the name of the Lineman Lunch restaurant.
Okay.
Simple. Very simple. Just let us know where that Lineman Lunch restaurant is. Maybe bonus points if you tell us the employee who sent us there. And from among those folks, we will pick a winner for a goodie bag.
Yep. And in page 22 of your magazine is where you'll find all that information. So if you made it to the podcast and you know to answer it, then you know where to go and find out about that energy quiz and the podcast quiz.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in and, that this information is helpful and good. Let us know what you think. You can always contact us. But, thanks for being here.
Thank you. And thank you to all of those who served in the military.
Yes.
And we hope you have a great May. Share with a friend. See ya.
All right. Take care.